Hello there, my name is Betsy, and today I'm going to be working on one of my drawings for the 100-day project. And before I get started, though, these are the ones that I made a few days ago. I am a little bit behind because I am still feeling a bit under the weather. I caught the flu a few days ago, so I'm kind of just recovering. I'm trying to get as much rest as I can. And so for today's drawing, I think all I want to do is try out this little design that I put together sometime last week. And so after the initial kind of session where I tried that out, I did play with it in another drawing. And so I think that today I just want to kind of just go with it. So I have this page here. So that's for Thursday. I am behind by a few days because today's Saturday. And I think all I'm going to do is just get started here with a pencil, just to kind of set up the initial forms. So again, I'm going to be speaking a bit softly. I'm not terribly tired right now, so that's good. I've been getting lots of rest at least. But definitely when I catch the flu, it really does kick my butt. So I'm kind of just having fun right now. And so that's what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I'm just kind of gently sketching out these shapes. They're kind of like leaves. And so after I sketch those shapes out with my pencil, what I'm going to do is draw a series of circles inside of each one. I start with the one in the middle, and of course these can be ovals as well. I often draw them as ovals, it's just fun. And I head out from the middle and allow each circle or oval to get smaller as I head outward. And then I'm going to show you right here how I add the curves in so it can start creating that twisted look. So starting from the top, I start in the second circle, create a curve heading up to the peak. So there it is. And now I go from right here and create a curve that connects to the top of the next oval. And then I continue that heading downward. So you'll see from about here, and then a curve down to the next oval or circle. So I'm just going to do the next few here. This one's kind of big, so it's going to look really big like that. And then right here I've got the next one heading down like that. Here's the next one down to the top. And then that last one is going to create a curve heading down to the bottom peak. So just like that. To do the other side, you can always just turn the drawing around if that makes you more comfortable. But for now, I'm going to work in the opposite direction, just heading upwards like that. Instead, this time I'm kind of working from the bottom of each oval, creating a curve heading down. You'll kind of get the hang of it after you do a few of these. It's pretty nice. And just like that, we got a couple more left. Just heading upward. And it looks like my pen is starting to run a little dry, but I'm going to try to keep using it just so that I don't let it go to waste. I try to use up every bit of ink in the pens. So here's this one, and I'm going to head to the bottom of the last circle. So right here. Like that. And then I've just got one more left from here to the peak. Make it nice and curvy. And that's it for that part. Now this is just the basic form. And now for the rest of this video, what I'm going to show you is how to kind of embellish it and do a lot of shading and add more stuff. So at this point, you know how to make the shape already. Or you can stick around and kind of see how I add more dimension and kind of add more embellishments. I'm going to start by just erasing some of these lines here. And so what I'd like to do is start from that top peak up here on the left hand side, or sorry, on the right hand side. I've got my directions a little bit turned around in my mind right now. So there we go, we're on the right hand side. So I added those two lines, and all I'm going to do is continue along the side here, just adding two lines. Of course you can add more, you can add as many as you want. I think I was just happy with two. Just adds a little bit more, makes it a little more interesting. So there we go. Just gonna keep working my way down towards the bottom. And so I'm really just gonna keep adding those lines, just heading all the way towards that lower peak here. And you can see here I'm reaching the bottom, just adding 2 lines at a time. And at this one I'm just gonna start working my way up the other side, just pretty much doing the same thing, just pretty much reversed since I'm heading upwards instead of downward. And so there we go, just 2 lines at a time. I know over the last few days I haven't had a chance to draw much, so it just feels really nice to have a pen in my hand again. Even though I'm still kind of working through the flu right now, it's just nice to get a little bit of drawing done. So there you have it. There is the first shape, and really I think all I'm going to do is just add a couple more here. And so this part of the footage is sped up a little bit, but you'll be able to kind of catch it a little bit faster. You already saw it kind of in real time. And so if you want to, you can kind of just watch this and just so that you can kind of reinforce that information here. So you see, heading down that way and then up the other side. I'm just going to add the lines there. So there you're going to see me doing that. 2 lines. Maybe the next time that I do this, I'll try adding more and just see how it looks. And then I'm just going to work up the other side. And as I finish these up, I know I'm already considering if I'm going to be adding any colors to this, and I think that just to give myself a little break this time, I won't be adding too much color. I do believe that I might add some color into the circles just to see what happens, but I think that's going to be it. For the rest of this, it's just going to be some shading, and whatever else happens. But mostly I think it's just because that really nice washi tape that's along the bottom is already taking care of more of the color on the page, so I'm just going to let it do that. And I don't want to overwhelm the page with too much. So as I finish this up, what I'm going to end up reaching for in a bit is just a bit of an ink wash, which if you've never tried an ink wash before, it's just a few drops of just regular black ink. If you have any India ink or anything like that, you can just take a few drops of ink, mix it with some water, and just kind of thin it down to whatever consistency you want. What I do with mine is I put it inside of these refillable watercolor pens, and so what you'll see me do that in a little bit. But before I go into all of that shading with the ink wash, I'm going to take a little bit of time to add a few more elements around the outside, since I feel like the space behind these is a little too empty, and I'm not very happy about that. So all I'm going to do is kind of fill in with a little bit of a thicker line just around the edge there. And I'm just going to put in these really simple shapes. They look like long teardrops, like long leaves, and I'm just going to add just a few of them here. Just kind of layer them up a little bit. So I'm just going to add that. And a little bit more right here. So just like that. And over here on this side, I'm just going to do the same. So I will add some black. Pretty much just make the edge there a little bit darker. And I really only do this just to separate the elements. I don't want the different parts of my drawing to kind of run together. I'm trying to keep them separate. So I'm just going to add a few of those here just to stay consistent. And I think I'm just adding the little line there. I tend to add that line there so it almost looks like a leaf. And heading over to the other side, I'm just going to do the same thing, just going to try to keep it consistent. So in that little area there, just going to add quite a bit of black. Just to set it up so that I can add a few of those shapes there. So I'm just going to do that right there. make them in different lengths, just so it looks a little bit nicer. And I think I'm still going to add those lines there. So there we go, there are the lines. And then don't want to forget these. Gonna go back and add those lines in really quick. And I just have this one space, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing right there. Just add the black, kind of go over the edge there. Nice dark line, and then just add my little shapes in. Same ones. Of course, it's nice to add different ones. It's just, again, I'm just trying to keep things simple for myself. Nothing terribly complicated. Just add a few of my familiar shapes that I love the most, just to kind of fill in some spaces here. Just add the lines. I think I'm just going to add one more right there. There we go. So now it's a little bit more full, not as much empty space. There's still a little bit of empty space, but not a lot. So now I'm actually going to use that ink wash that I have. Like I said before, I like to have this in a refillable watercolor pen. And so I'm just going to test it out real quick just to see the flow and what the, like how deep this looks. And I think I'm pretty good with it. I'm happy with it. And if you use this, you don't have to have one of these refillable pens. You can always just do it in a little well, almost like if you were using watercolor. Just mix some ink and water and just play with it using a brush. That is the standard way that you could use that. So all I'm going to do is just kind of go through here real quick and add ink along certain parts. I try to stay along the edges of the shapes that I'm working with. So you'll see it's along the edges where it looks like it's falling behind something else. That's where I add a little bit of gray. And then if I need to, once it soaks up that ink mixture, I can always add a little bit more if I want to make it darker along the edge. So just like that. And I'm not always terribly careful. I do like to just kind of play around with it and just see what happens. So you'll see I'm somewhat messy, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. At least not for me, not for what I'm doing right now. Just playing around with it. So here I'm just adding more. And so if you've never tried this, if you've never tried an ink wash, if you still haven't done it yet, I really do recommend that if you want to try it, if this is something you're interested in, always try using a more watered down consistency. It'll help it be a little less intimidating. If you use a very dark consistency, so more ink in the water, things will look very dark and it might be a little intimidating. But if it's thin and soft and a bit muted, it might help you actually jump in and use it. And that's what I have here. I have a very, very thin consistency of ink. It's got a lot of water in it. And so I don't feel like I'll ruin everything by adding this ink in there. It's kind of just the way that I do it. I do have a couple of other pens with other consistencies, and that way if I feel like afterwards there are a few other areas that need to be darkened, I kind of just use those. I use my stronger consistencies to add more shading in a few areas. So you can see it's pretty quick. And I add shadows to some of the other shapes as well. Just a little bit of shading helps it really helps change the look of everything. So for the rest of this, I'm just going to let the footage go by a little bit faster now that you've had a chance to see how I do it slower. And so just going to let this pass. You'll see I'm just kind of adding some of the ink wash to a few places. Just kind of letting it soak into the page. And anywhere where I think I just want it a little darker, I just add a second layer to some of those spots. And so that's what it looks like now that I've added my ink wash. I think it's just a nice quick way to add shadows to places. And I am going to try to see if there are any colors here with my Tombow markers that I might like. And I think I'm really wanting some kind of green. So that's a gray, maybe like a soft green. So there we go. So there's the softer green. And what I'm going to do is color in the circles using that softer green. And I want to see what it looks like if I try to turn these into kind of like little gems. Try to add a little bit of shading in there in just a bit. So for now, they're just going to be green. I'm just kind of laying down my midtones. Just a nice soft green. So after I finish adding this, what I'm going to do is use that darker green to just add just a slight line of this darker green along the bottom. It's almost going to be like a shadow. Just along that kind of bottom edge for each one of these circles. I usually don't do this, but I want to try it out this time just to see if it still looks good or if I might want to try it again. So right now I'm not really sure if this is going to look okay, but I just want to try it out. And of course, I would encourage you to kind of test these things out for yourself as well. You never know if you're going to discover something. It's just going to be really nice. So right now I'm just trying this out. So there it is. That little bit of a very dark green there. And so what I am going to follow this up with is with a color pencil, I think. Just so that I do have a deeper green here, but not as dark as that marker that I just added in. So you can see this is just kind of like a forest green. And I'm just going around the outer edge, just really lightly actually. Just to kind of really reinforce that this is a little bit round like a gem. And that it isn't a flat hole or a flat opening like that. And of course one thing I want to try is adding some white. What I have here is just a white charcoal pencil. I want to see how it lays over these markers. I think it does okay. It is okay. So again, this is just a white charcoal pencil. I do always link all of the supplies that I use in the description of the video. So of course, if you're interested in checking those out, those are always there so you can see if you want to try something like this out. The charcoal pencil usually does okay. Sometimes it doesn't lay down color so well, and usually the reason for that is just that maybe the page is still a little damp from the marker, and it might just be necessary to let it dry a little bit. But I think in this case it did okay, and it colored in just fine. Just added a little white highlight. So again, right here, I'm just going to show you the rest. It's going to go by just a little bit faster. And I'm still just doing the same, just using a little bit of colored pencil and a little bit of that white charcoal. And so this does have a little bit of dimension, but it's still a bit on the soft side, and that's nice. If you want to, of course, you can keep coloring and keep adding more so that it looks really nice and deep with the shadows. So here, I think I just want to move on right now. What I'm going to use is this. This is a deep gray that I have as a marker. And I really want to give more of a finished look to the page. So I'm just going to add a really simple kind of shading on the other side of my washi tape. So that's all I'm doing here, just really quickly, just like very quick, confident strokes. Just like that, just to make it look like there's a shadow. And then what I am going to do is take my time up here and just very carefully color in the background. And of course, I could do this with any color at all. If you're playing around with your drawing and you want to add a different color, try it out. Always, of course, try it out. Lots of wonderful color combinations you could use with this. I'm just kind of fond of filling in the back with black, but I didn't want to do that this time, so I chose this. It's kind of a deep gray. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just filling it in with a deep gray. And it is going to look not quite solid, but a little bit textured. And I actually like that. I like it when I can see all the lines back there from all the pen strokes. So that's why I'm using the gray here instead of a black one. I want to see all of those pen strokes. And so I'm just going to take my time here. And this is moving along a little bit faster, of course, because simply I'm just filling it in. Nothing special. No special rules. Just taking my time and filling it in. This is something that I like to do in a lot of my drawings if I feel like they just need something else. Something to kind of help it pop. I like to do this a lot. Sometimes just filling in the background with a color or a texture can really bring it forward without having to fill it in with too much more, making it too busy or anything like that. So I'm just working my way around. Again, in reality, this took a little bit longer. It's just the footage is a little bit sped up. Just kind of filled it in. And so when I'm done here just filling this in, I believe I noticed that I kind of wanted to really accent some of those shadows, so I went and grabbed one of my pencils. Now this is a matte pencil, so it doesn't shine too much. These are new, so I'm still kind of playing around with them, and all I'm going to do is kind of add a shadow right here, just to really seal in the fact that these are kind of overlapping. So you can see I'm just kind of adding in more of a shadow here. So again, I really do love working with the shadows on these things. I may be a little tired, but definitely have to do some shading here. So you can see it just really quickly. I wasn't very delicate. I like it when the pencil and the graphite are kind of grainy. I really do like that. I purposely leave it like that. It doesn't, in my mind, the graphite doesn't need to be smooth. I like it when it's a little grainy. So I'm just gonna go around and add some in a few places where I'd really like to deepen those shadows. So you can see here, that's what I'm doing. And there we go. That's pretty much it. I think I could play around with it a little more. But truthfully, it's time to go get some rest. And hopefully I can get past this silly little flu and get back to work, get back to doing stuff and having fun. So thank you for joining me today. I know my voice was a little bit softer than usual, but thank you for joining me today. And I hope to see you all soon. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.